Tina, always good to speak with you. And I think about President Trump's comments yesterday, his national address, and he laid out everything. He kind of put everything in there. It's like a kitchen sink in many ways. We know he prizes optionality. He likes to leave himself room for all possibilities. Is it fair to say that his comments achieved that?
He certainly, you're so diplomatic in the way you put that, Scarlett. He has left himself with maximum optionality, and markets have responded by reading his message as being that there is no plan and there is risk of escalation. And I think that's the right conclusion.
Are we closer to $200 oil or $40 oil?
I think we're closer to 200, and there's a lot of supply on the market, and there are oil strategists who are much better at the details. I'm looking at what U.S. military assets are being deployed. It seems unlikely to me that the president would concentrate assets of such scale, moving them away from Asia and Latin America to the Gulf without using them in some capacity.
What are you anticipating, best and worst case scenarios here in terms of more troops being sent over?
Let's remember that for the Iraq War, there were 150,000 U.S. troops in theater. So we've got 2/3 fewer number there. The scale of the operation is nowhere close. We know from the Venezuela case that the president, likes to use that military presence as a stick to bring about concessions. But he's dealing with a regime in Iran that doesn't seem to take U.S. diplomacy seriously. And because of this three-tier toll system that they've implemented over the strait, which wasn't there before, they now have income and leverage that they didn't have before. You can't leave that theater without traffic going through the straits in some capacity. The question is how we get there. Yesterday, the president said other countries would need to go and open it up. Maybe the UAE and others want to take that into their own hands. But this is not a quick and easy kind of an operation.
You mentioned the U.S. moving troops from other parts of the world, Asia among them. Do you see China taking advantage of the U.S. war in Iran? I mean, you could make the argument that being patient pays off. The U.S. runs the risk of running out of missiles, interceptors, and compromises its ability to protect its interests in that region, whether it's Taiwan, whether it's Korea.
I mean, the U.S. can find ways to fight in the Middle East for a long time. And, again, we've got special forces, we've got the 82nd Airborne Army Rangers. The operations that are under consideration seem to be around things like removal of highly enriched uranium, possibly seizing some strategic islands, rather than a full-scale ground invasion. So I want to make that clear first. But
okay.
Fighting two wars at one time has been something that the Pentagon has wanted to be prepared for some time. But concentrating so many assets in the Gulf, sure, it's an opportunity for China. I've always been cautious about suggesting that China might, seize that opportunity because it doesn't regard Taiwan as something that it needs to seize. It sees it as part of China. And yet, if you knew that your adversary in the United States was tied up in the war in the Middle East, it's an opportune time to at least test those boundaries and that reaction function.